Shalom, 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 shalom. Peace and blessings, peace and blessings. Peace and blessings, you sincere brothers and sisters, peace and blessings. First and foremost, we must acknowledge our Heavenly Father, Yahweh, through His only begotten Son, Yahushua, for allowing this word to come out. And I hope you sincere brothers and sisters are truly edified by today's word. This is your Sabbath service today. I'll be doing the Sabbath service by myself. The elder will be back in our regular Sabbath setting, Lord willing, next weekend. And I will be in our regular setting as well as myself, the elder, and his son. This week, I'm going to be doing the word, the Sabbath service solo. But it's the same agenda. Usually the elder... The elder usually leads the charge, who's also the spiritual head, leads the charge for our normal Sabbath service. But today, I'll be doing the Sabbath service by myself. And I hope that you sincere brothers and sisters are truly edified by today's word, man. One thing that I want us to focus on in this word, and it's going to be a quick word today, man. We're going to get right to it. We're going to get right to the point, man, and try to really deliver this word, man. The one thing that I want you sincere brothers and sisters to take away in today's word is always remember death is waiting at the end of the road. That's right, I'm gonna say it again. If you don't get nothing out of this lesson today, the one thing that I want you to take from this word is always remember death is waiting at the end of the road. All right. It's something that we should talk about more about. Death should be something we talk more about, but for whatever reason, people like to shy away from the subject matter of death. All right, what is death? When you hear about death, when you hear death, what comes to mind? Death is the end of life. Death is someone losing their existence as a person. Death is the state of being dead. And I really want us to focus on death. Why? Because it's waiting at the end of the road. Yeah. In Psalms 90 and 10, man, it tells you that, in Psalms 90 and 10, it tells you the days of our years are 80 years and 10. And if by reason of strength they be 80 years, yet is their strength labor and sorrow, for it is soon cut off and we fly away. See that? So in Psalms 90 and 10, man, it's telling you life expectancy comes to an end at the age of 70 years old. And by favor and grace, you may live up to be 80 years old. Yeah. So think about that, brothers and sisters. You know, I lost my father over 2 years ago, over a little bit over 2 years ago. And, you know, he was almost 73 years old when he died. So I do have the comfort of knowing that he made it to at least 70 years old. My mom's, knock on wood, just turned 70 years old 2 months ago. So, you know, according to the Bible, man, both of my parents made the life expectancy according to Psalms 90 and 10. You know, but death is something no one really wants to talk about, but it's very important today because why? It's waiting at the end of the road for us. In Isaiah 65 and 20, man, it speaks about our children living to be an old age. And let's get that. Isaiah 65 verse 10, and it reads, Isaiah 65 verse 20, and it reads, There shall be no more thence an infant of days, nor an old man that have not filled his days. For the child shall die 100 years old, but the sinner, being 100 years old, shall be accursed. So our children, man, if the Lord allows that, can live to be 100 years old. But think about it. When you look at today's babies and infants, a lot of them ain't even seeing 5 years old. I just lost my second grandson earlier this year. He was 3 weeks old, man. So even though, according to Isaiah 65:20, our children shall live to be 100 years old, that's just not what's happening in most cases today. A lot of children that are born today will not see nowhere near of 100 years old. And again, like I said, you look on the news, even here in Milwaukee, you got babies and toddlers not even seeing 5 years old. And then you have babies and infants, I should say. You got babies and infants not even seeing 5 years old. And then you have toddlers all the way up to teenagers not even seeing 18 years old, man. A lot of us are losing our children at a young age, man. But in a perfect world, according to Isaiah 65:20, your child shall die 100 years old, man. I mean, and speaking of 100 years old, in Ecclesiasticus or in Sirach 18:9, it tells you the number of a man's days at most is 100 years old. And, you know, it's a beautiful thing when you see that some of us live to be 100 years old, man. That's a beautiful thing, especially if you ain't suffering with no major health issues and you living in peace most of that time. It's such a beautiful thing. But like I said, remember, always remember, death is waiting at the end of the road. You're gonna hear this word, you're gonna hear this message throughout today's word, man. In a perfect world, you know, it would be nice to live to be old and in peace. I mean, but that's not today's reality. Today's reality, man, there's too many guns on the street being in the hands of very dangerous people, man. Now, I want you to pause and think about what I just said. In a perfect world, again, living to be 100 years old and being in peace during that time would be such a beautiful thing. But that's not today's reality. Today's reality is there's too many guns on the street in the hands, okay, of very dangerous people. And soon as there's conflict with these people, homicide has happened. And once that homicide happens, guess what? Somebody's family is about to be devastated due to senseless violence, man. So again, remember, death is awaiting at the end of the road. You know, we're losing our loved ones and close loved ones and friends at an early age, man. You know, according to, like I said, Psalms 90:10, we're supposed to be able to live to at least be 70 years old. But that ain't the case, man. It's not the case. Think about it. Every time you're watching the news, brothers and sisters, and you see someone has been murdered, that's somebody's family that's going through it. So anytime that your family, anytime that you have your loved ones and you're not getting that phone call, the Lord has bestowed grace upon you. The Lord has bestowed favor on you. Because guess what? Every day, Somebody is getting that phone call. I've gotten that phone call at least 3 times in the last 2, 3 years, man. I got the phone call when my dad passed. And my dad passed on my so-called birthday 2 years ago. I got the call when my auntie passed, but I know she was, her health was declining worse and worse, and we knew kind of ahead of time that all they could do was comfort her. But still, knowing that it wasn't, it was still tough to get that phone call. When my grandson passed at 3 weeks old, I got that phone call from my daughter. And let me tell you, man, it was definitely not the phone call I was expecting to hear. So when you hear or when you get these phone calls that you have lost a loved one, man, I wouldn't wish that on nobody. It's the worst feeling you could have. So just keep in mind when you hear these tragedies happening in people's families, they going through it, man. Why? Because nobody is anticipating life is going to end early. No one's anticipating that life is going to happen the way, or life ends the way it do. But understand that death is waiting at the end of the road, man. Now, I was talking to you about today's reality with senseless violence and murder. All over the world, you see violence, black on black crime. And in Proverbs 6, verse 16 and 17, man, let's get that. In Proverbs 6, verse 16, it reads, Proverbs 6, verses 16 and 17, it says, "These 6 things do the Lord hate. Yea, 7 are an abomination unto him: a proud look, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood." And that a lot of that happens when you find individuals, when you find dangerous people, extremely dangerous people, with guns in their hands. And what ended up happening? People would be at the right place at the wrong time, and next thing you know, a stray bullet, a so-called stray bullet, goes into their windshield, goes into their window of their house, however you want to slice it, and that person is dead. Just like that. So that's shedding innocent blood, and the Lord hates that. But a lot of that is going on, man. So understand that life is extremely short. So make the very best of it while you can. Because just like you here today, you can be gone today. You can be here today, gone tomorrow. I'm telling you, man. In Ecclesiastes 9, verse 9, it says, "Live joyfully with the wife of whom thou lovest all the days of thy life, of thy vanity, which he have given thee under the sun all the days of thy vanity, for that is the portion in this life and in thy labor which thou takest under the sun," man. So when you think about it, man, you brothers out there that's married, and you sisters that's out there married, specifically you brothers, man, live joyfully with the wife whom thou love all the days of your life, man. You know, usually in this lifetime, you get one wife. Sometimes you might get a second chance at it. But usually you get one wife, man. And not no any wife. We're talking about a special one. You dig what I'm saying? And all you brothers out there that have a wife that's a special wife, and maybe you don't see and realize how special she really is. Understand this, because life is short. and because death is waiting at the end of the road, all you married brothers out there, live joyfully with the wife with whom thou love all the days of your life, man. In other words, cherish and value your marriage. We in a time today where you really, anybody that's out there married, we in a time where you should cherish and value your marriage, man. Yeah. Ecclesiastes 11 and 9. It says, rejoice. Well, you know what? Ecclesiastes, let's look at Ecclesiastes 11, verse 8. Let me make sure I got this cued in. Bear with me, brothers. Yeah, Ecclesiastes 11, verse 8. It says, but if a man live many years and he rejoice in them all, yet let him remember the days of darkness, for they shall be many. All that cometh is vanity. So if you live, in other words, if you're fortunate to live to be old, okay, rejoice in all of those years from the time you're born to the day you pass. Enjoy life, man. Why? Because just as many days you're going to rejoice as you live to be old, you're going to also have days of darkness. So in essence, you kind of have you end up having a balance. In essence, you have a balance. Because it tells you, even though you live in your life to the full as an old man, you live up to be an old person, right? And on your way to living to be an old person, it's telling you to rejoice all those years. Enjoy your life, right? But at the same time, please know and understand that you also going to have some dark days. So you're going to have some high days and you're going to have some low days. So all in all, it's a balance, man. But then in verse 9, this is for you young men out there. It says, rejoice, O young man, in thy youth, and let thy heart cheer thee in the days of thy youth, and walk in the ways of thy heart, and in the sight of thy eyes. But know thou that for all these things God will bring thee into judgment. All right. So if you're a young man, okay, you in your early 20s, right? Beginning at your early 20s, right? If you're in your early 20s all the way up until your early 30s, I consider that young men, okay? That's for you sisters too. You young sisters in your early 20s, early 30s. You young brothers in your early 20s, early 30s. Live your life to the fullest. Ball out. Take it all in. But understand that the Lord is watching you, and you must be giving an account to the Lord for everything you do. So be mindful of that. You know, my daughters are both grown. All praise to Yahweh Shem Yahushua. My daughter, my eldest daughter is 29, and my youngest daughter is 22. So even in their age group, hey man, may they live their life to the full. May they ball out, take it all in. But even my two daughters, they have to understand that if you're doing something out here that the Lord don't approve of, you're going to have to answer to that. So, again, remember, man, life is extremely short. All right? Life is extremely short, man. And let me just say this while I'm on the subject of you guys cherishing life, man. We don't have a lot of time here in this place, man. So, you got to understand something. You can lose money. But time, when you lose it, well, let me just say this. You can lose money, right? And you can have an opportunity to win that money back or earn that money back. But when you lose time, you can't get that back. And it's so frustrating to me to see people, even people that I love, even people that I'm close to, just burning and wasting time, man. For the life of me, I don't understand how people get up every day and just waste time. Time is not something we can get back, y'all. So cherish every moment that you have. Cherish the time that you have, man. Because it's going to come a time where you're going to wake up and realize, like, dude, where did all the time go? Cherish your time, especially now. Why? Because life is extremely short, and death is awaiting at the end of the road, man. I have to stress this to y'all. So stop wasting time. Cherish your time, man. I say cherish your time. Let me make sure we good. Yep, cherish your time, man. Cherish your time. So now that I've gotten that out the way, again, live your life to the full, man. Enjoy your life for as long as the Lord allow you to have a life. But all you sincere brothers and sisters that have children, I want to say this to you. Proverbs 22 verse 6. We only got a couple more scriptures, man. I'm going to close this word out. Like I told you, this word was going to be quick, straight to the point, man. And I hope that you sincere brothers and sisters really take something from this word today in the Sabbath service. Proverbs 22 and 6, it says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. So, while you still have time, and you have children, those that have children that's under 18 years old, okay? Train up your child, and when they old, they will never depart from it. So, in other words, man, make sure you train your child in a way where if something happened to you, they're going to be okay because you trained them the right way. Okay, you let them know the do's and the don'ts. You let them know what's live and what's jive. You let them know what type of crowd to hang around, what type of crowd to deviate from, what type of things to get involved with, what type of things not to get involved with. You know, you train your child to have respect, dignity, self-respect, and dignity. You know, you train your child that, hey man, you don't steal. You go out and put your hands to work. You know, you don't lie to people. You be honest. Look people in the eye when you talk to them. You know, those type of things, man. Be respectful to your elders. You know, always have a plan and stick to that plan. You know, train your child in a way he's going to succeed in life. If while you're still living, you have a chance to do that. And if your children are over 18 years old and you have grandchildren, apply these same principles, man. You train them up in the way they should go, man, and they're gonna be okay, man. Because when you look around what's happening today, you can tell a lot of these kids have not been trained in the proper way where they can be successful and be something in their life, man. A lot of these kids are making it up as they go. And a lot of them, you already know what end up happening. They end up in jail. So speaking of that, in Proverbs 13:24, you want to also discipline your children. It says in Proverbs 13:24, he that spared his rod hated his son, but he that loveth him chastened him betimes. In other words, if you love your child, you discipline him or her by way of punishment. Okay? You discipline him or her by way of punishment. Back in my day, if you was a 70s baby, man, you got your butt whooped. Or whatever our parents could find, a tree stump, a switch, belt, whatever they can get their hands on to bust your head, that's what happened to you. I was fortunate to where I didn't get whooped by neither one of my parents. But my brother did. I saw the butt whoopings he was getting, and I was like, no, I don't want none of that. None of that. But see, when we were young, my brother looked at my dad whooping him as being mean, but really my dad was showing him love. Because why? You have to discipline your children, and they have to understand why they're being disciplined. They have to understand why they're being punished. So as they get older, they know what to and what not to do. If your child is at school acting up, being bad, and you coming home telling them, be nice, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. Guess what? In that kid's frame of thinking, or in that kid's frame of interpreting what you're saying, they're going to turn up even more. Why? Because ain't no repercussions for their actions. But when a kid go to school and acting crazy, acting up, and he come home and you hit him with that rod, guess what's in the back of his mind moving forward when he go to school? I got a decision to make. Do I want to get another whooping? I don't think so. So guess what? He ain't going to do that foolishness he was doing before. Just like you have a curfew, you give your kids a curfew. He come in late. Guess what? You better tighten him up, because he gonna start coming in late every time because ain't no repercussion. So you have to discipline your children, man, especially if you love them. And again, a lot of these kids are not being disciplined. A lot of these high school age kids, man, they doing whatever they want to do, and that's how you know ain't no punishment being applied. And these be the same kids that you'll read about in prison, headed to prison in these gangs, selling dope, whatever you want to call it, man. So again, man, life is really short. Remember, death is waiting at the end of the road. So while you here, man, live your life to the full. At the same time, man, make sure you guide your kids in the right direction. So if you so happen to leave this earth today, you'll feel good knowing that you left your kids not lost. You left your kids knowing that the name of the Lord is Yahweh, knowing that the Lord's only begotten Son name is Yahweh Shai. Let your kids know that. You know what I'm saying? Not only that, teach your kids the way they need to go. Also, in Proverbs 13, verse 22, it says, a good man leaveth inheritance to his children's children, and the wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just. So also, man, a good man or woman, I should say, leaves an inheritance to their grandchildren. That's something we should, as Israelites, okay? That's one thing we also should be conscious of, leaving an inheritance for our grandchildren, man. We're not going to be here that long, so let's make sure we got something in place for them. There's a thing called life insurance. Make sure you got enough life insurance so your grandchildren can go to college, if that's where you want them to go, or your grandkids got money to start a business. They go to school and start a trade, whatever that trade is. Now they already got the money waiting on them to start that business. A lot of rich families continue to be rich by way of life insurance. They leave $1 million policy for their grandkids, and then their grandkids leave $1 million policy for their grandkids and grandkids and grandkids and so forth and so forth. And you see these generations of wealth continuing to multiply simply by repeating the same thing. And us as Israelites, we should be on that same mindset, man. Leave an inheritance for your children's children. And then they do the same thing, man. That's where you get into generational wealth. Proverbs 13:22 again tell you a good man leaves an inheritance to his grandchildren. So before you leave this place, make sure all your affairs is in order. Make sure all your affairs is in order, man. If you have a mortgage for your house, make sure you got a life insurance policy. Make sure you got a life insurance policy just for your mortgage. It's called mortgage protection, okay? So if you got a mortgage that's $200,000, right? What you want to do is do a 30, if it's a 30-year mortgage, get yourself a 30-year term policy just to cover that house. If something were to happen to you before, you know, that you pay the house off, now that 30-year term policy is going to, that 30-year policy is going to pay that house off. Now, guess what? Your grandchildren got a house. You dig? They got a house. Ultimately, your grandkids gonna get it. If you married, your spouse gonna get the house, and then obviously she should leave that house to them grandkids, leave an inheritance for them. Things like that, man. Just getting your affairs in order, man. Making sure your finances is in order, man. All these things you need to start thinking about handling, because life is really short and death is awaiting at the end of the road, man. So every day that the Lord allow you to live, man, work towards trying to handle your business. You know, the way I operate my life, I'm preoccupied with death. You know, when I was younger, man, I used to think about living to be 100 years old plus. That's no longer the way how I look at life. The way I look at life today is I don't have that much time here. That's the mindset that I have. I don't have much time here, man. So every day I'm trying to do things where I'm handling my affairs and making sure my kids is good, man. Making sure I pay down my debts to the Lord. You know, trying to make things right. A lot of wrongs I'm trying to make right. So that's all I got for you, sincere brothers and sisters, today, man. I hope you were truly edified by this word. We give all praises, glory, and honor to our Heavenly Father, Yahweh, through His only begotten Son, Yahushua, man, for allowing this word to come out. And hey, listen, if you don't take nothing else from today's word, remember, death, always remember, death is awaiting at the end of the road. Never lose sight of that, man. I'm telling you, every day the Lord allow you to rise to your feet, cherish that. Make the most of it, because one of these days, if you're fortunate to rise to your feet, you might not make it through that day. You might rise to your feet that day, but you might not make it through that day. Always remember that. You might go to bed tonight. It's not guaranteed you're going to wake up tomorrow. So make sure you tell those you love the most, you love them. Cherish them. If it's people that you at odds with for whatever reason, but you love them, get them a phone call, man. Shoot them a text message. Tell them you love them. That's the time we in. We ain't got time to be playing and wasting time, man. That's all I got for y'all, man. Again, I hope y'all were spiritually nourished. I hope you guys were spiritually fed with today's word. And again, we give all praises, glory, and honor to our Heavenly Father, Yahweh, through His only begotten Son, Yahushua, for allowing this word to come out, man. Shalom.